So, you've clearly clicked on this video because you are looking to traumatize your D&D players by adding what is probably the biggest horror phenomenon, well, at least horror gaming phenomenon, of the last decade into your game. I hope you like what you find here. If you do, please do like, subscribe and all those lovely things. I'm a relatively small channel, just hit 100 subs this week, which, honestly, thank you so much everybody. But without further ado, we can get stuck into these stat blocks and I hope you find what you're looking for. Up first, we have the titular character of Five Nights at Freddy's, which is Freddy Fazbear. I thought it'd be nice to give him a decent chunk of HP and a very high AC. The idea being is that your party shouldn't really be trying to just attack these guys. They should be more used in a kind of more menacing, approaching, how to deal with this situation kind of puzzle, which doesn't just involve fireball, fireball, fireball. However, I'm guessing that is a technical use of this, and I didn't give him the best dexterity saving throws, so maybe that is a way of getting damage onto them, but by all means, whenever with all of these, you can use your best judgment for your players and everything to try and work out how to use these. I also gave him proficiency in stealth, intimidation, and of course performance. Remember, these are performing animatronics after all. They also get blind sense, so you can kind of put your players in a really dark location and have one of these going after them. And a general passive perception of about 10. I've also added a few abilities here. So firstly, I went for the wandering machine idea, which is that Freddy will kind of wander aimlessly in a routine way until it counters another creature, and then it will try and attack that creature. In order to make it so that they can kind of charge at you and do more damage, I have given them the ability to use dash as a bonus action. So I think that that would be an interesting dynamic. However, the thing that makes these things a bit more balanced is I've given them a limited memory. So for example, if Freddy loses sight of another creature, then Freddy has 2 rounds where they remember where they last saw that creature and will attack, but after that point they will forget that that character even exists and will start to run away and kind of find its own pattern again. If there is a barrier that blocks it, it will then just kind of find its other way to complete its rounds. So this way is a way of the party kind of maybe avoiding being seen. They could maybe go invisible or put up some barricades or something to avoid being kind of chased down. The only other thing to add here is that I have given Freddy a particularly strong bite action. The entire point of this is that Freddy is known for biting you, and often in the actual Five Nights at Freddy's games, it's a one-hit KO. And so here, the idea being is that if you are confronted with something that deals 15d6 damage, you're more than likely to be like, I'm not going to engage with that, I'm going to find other ways around it. You need lots of ways of convincing your players to not just go head-on and attack the thing often. I've also given it a quick pound activity, which is relatively weak in comparison, but it's just its way of kind of breaking down a barricade if it runs into it. If the party builds something, they will start to attack that before then disappearing off. It's up to you how intimidating you want this to be in terms of how many rounds they get the opportunity. However, I have got the other ones, which are a bit, well, all the characters are very, very similar, but they do have different memories because of how in the games they last longer, their attacks last longer and all this sort of stuff. For that reason, I'm now going to move on to Bonnie, who is, again, the same kind of vibe as a high AC, high HP, but I've given them a bit more of an ability because they have got a more limited memory in the game, so they can only really pay attention for one turn. So the way that would work is they can see you, and if you are becoming their line sight in that turn, they have until the end of the following turn. They kind of get a full turn of their action to do whatever they want. However, at that point, they will then lose it. If they come around the corner and see you, they will get all of that turn and then the next turn. That's the kind of way I'm thinking about this. The other thing that Bonnie gets, because of this thing that happens in the games, is that she will always be aware of when she is being observed. In comparison to Freddy, who will only see that, like, will only see you if you see him kind of vibe, Bonnie will know if there are any scrying sensors or anything like that, and even has the ability to remove a scrying sensor, turn it to static, so that the person looking at her can no longer see where she is. And that is kind of scary if you have a player set this up in the entire Five Nights at Freddy's game. In a kind of, you're stuck in a location, these things are attacking you, what do you do? So yeah, the main thing here is to remember is that there's only one turn that Bonnie gets memory though, but she is always aware of when she's being watched. Up next we have got Chica, who is again a bit more on the kind of higher strong side, but does have a slightly lower AC, and also has got the same skills in stealth, intimidation and performance. Chica's limited memory lasts a whole 3 rounds, so she is able to actually maybe break down those barriers a bit more. However, there is the additional downside to her that she is distracted by food, as is seen in the games quite often. Therefore, you are able to maybe distract her with other things, and therefore her longer memory does cause less of a problem. So I'm trying to balance these out by upping the ante with some of them, but also then giving them drawbacks. Up next, we have also got then Foxy, Funtime Foxy, Foxy the Fox, obviously the pirate guy. He is a lot weaker in terms of HP. So he's only got 70 HP and an AC that is a little bit lower too. He's easier to attack and easier to deal with. Also has the Wandering Machine ability. However, what makes him difficult compared to all the others is that he has a passive perception of 22 and can therefore easily spot the party if they try to hide. This is the thing, is that he has got the ability also to have a longer memory of 4 rounds, so if you are spotted by him, he will know where you are and know where you are for longer. The bite here, and I also worth mentioning that the bite for Bonnie and Chica is slightly weaker, because obviously Freddy doesn't have any special abilities, so I gave them a stronger bite, but for the rest of these guys, they have a slightly weaker bite, so if they get one off on you, you may be able to actually survive it. The pound is also a bit weaker, but overall, Foxy is one of those that's just an annoyance compared to the rest of them. Maybe you can deal with him a bit quicker, but it's also this thing of like, these things are not nice to be around. Up next, we actually have got Balara. Now, Balara is a bit of an interesting one. I didn't know much about Sister Location. It's not one of the games that I've really paid that much attention to, so I decided to change it up a bit for this. There are some abilities that Balara has. I have kept it roughly at the same thing with AC roughly around the high teens and a good chunk of HP. However, Balara has got internal gyroscopes, so can't be knocked prone, has got the proficiencies in performance, but also in persuasion and acrobatics, mainly because there is this luring ability that Balara has. And the way I've set this up is as a luring sensor. Balara can select a point near her, set up a luring sensor there, and if anyone sees that or anyone who starts close to that must make a DC 18 wisdom saving throw or move towards it as best they can. It's worth mentioning that they don't have to use their actions for anything, so they just have to kind of move right up to it. It's just a way that Balara can just be like, you're going to come here, but they can still fight back or maybe even hide weirdly in the darkness, because obviously Balara does get blind sense of up to 60 foot. The only other thing that Balara can do is they can summon these mini arenas, which are really, really weak little things, but they only have kind of like 5 HP and an AC of 10, but they're just an annoyance for the party, and they're also a nice variety of things to make this Five Nights at Freddy's themed game that you're putting on a bit more interesting. We then also move on to another character who is a little bit of a rogue one. I was thinking about how to add this guy. It's the Balloon Boy. I decided to give him a sizable chunk of HP, 60, and also some decent AC at 15, but he's a lot weaker than the rest. He also doesn't have as good stats. He only has a perception of +3, so 13 passive perception, and he has also got his performance ability as well. He also has got this kind of initial ability which is called Scaredy Cat, which means that if you look at him, he can't take an action or move. Therefore, he has this kind of inability to do pretty much anything, and he can be easily dealt with. However, he does have a few extra abilities to make this a bit more interesting. He has got his pound attack, which isn't that good, but his main thing is his blinding gaze. He can choose a creature within 30 foot to make a DC 13 wisdom save. On a fail, that creature is blinded for a minute. Any creature that is affected can redo that saving throw at the end of their turns, but this can be a real problem if paired with everything else. He also has the ability to run away. So if, for example, someone is looking at them, you can purposefully make another character distract them so they look away briefly, and then Balloon Boy can use that reaction to kind of teleport away 30 foot. And therefore, this is a way of making it so that he isn't just stared at the entire time and causes even more fear amongst your players. The final character that I have brought in from Five Nights at Freddy's is the Puppet. Now, this is an interesting one, because this is something that I thought long and hard about, but I have decided that he should, or she should, no spoilers here, I would recommend any kind of lore look into Five Nights at Freddy's, it's great. This puppet, they will have 15 AC, but only a single hit point. However, they have got immunity to everything. Therefore, they cannot take any damage, and the reason for this is that they have got the Shepherd of the Lost Souls ability, where the puppet is invulnerable until the souls it has shepherded into the other animatronics, are freed, and its final mission has been completed. Once this has occurred, the puppet loses all of its immunities, and attacking it will release the final soul. The entire point of this is being that this thing is a problem to deal with, but it does have its main weakness. If you play any kind of music anywhere near the puppet, it will immediately fall unconscious, and it will remain asleep as long as the music continues playing. Now, this means that it is a relatively easy thing to deal with. It doesn't even get a save against that. However, the other animatronics may try and destroy or disrupt the music that's being played, and if, unfortunately, that does manage to happen, it does have the action Terrifying Gaze, which does deal a sizable amount of damage, 10d10 plus 2 necrotic damage, and therefore it can be a real problem if you've kept it close, kept music on it to make it so it's staying asleep, and then that music gets stopped. The final thing that's worth mentioning about the puppet is it does have a Shepherd of the Souls ability, where if another creature dies within 60 foot of it, it can use its reaction to store that soul in an empty animatronic construct, leaving it in a situation where you could end up with more things you need to free before you can finally deal with the puppet. I hope you have enjoyed this, and for a little bit of a bonus for you guys, I've decided to add in a little additional item for anyone who has got this far. And this item, you may have noticed it when I've been talking about the theories and the lore and all of this sort of stuff. I am a huge game theory fan, and so I decided to make Matt Pat's Theorizer jacket as a kind of tribute to him, given that he has recently retired. This jacket is just a normal magic item. I've put it as rare. It may be very rare based on what you think, and as always, feel free to add to this. This is just my initial thoughts, and I thought it would be a nice thing to add in this Five Nights at Freddy's video. The way this works is you get advantage on intelligence checks and wisdom saving throws, and you're able to understand Thieves' Cant when you're wearing this armor. This makes sense considering, you're looking at theories and trying to work out things. You are saving yourself from being confused, and also Thieves' Cant is literally code that is hidden within other text files. If that is not game theory in a nutshell, I don't know what is. You're also able to use a leap of logic. When investigating a location, an image, or a passage of text, you can expend 3 of the 10 charges that this thing has to find an inference that really isn't obvious to the passive observer. You can also use this jacket to kind of delve deep into the parts of your brain that you didn't realise were there and pull out random pieces of obscure lore and information. If you need to recall information about a niche topic, you expend 3 charges and you can recall a random useful piece of information about that topic that will help you to achieve your current aims. I think that that's a nice little way of boosting your kind of investigative skills. There's not much in D&D that does that, apart from maybe the Headband of Intellect, which is a really good item, but I feel like this is kind of a bit more focused on the investigation side of things. The final ability that I've given this jacket is the That's Just a Theory. No, I'm not going to do it. I feel bad doing it, but maybe I'll do it at some other point. But the idea of this is that if you fail a persuasion check, you can expend 5 charges to make it a success. And that is the kind of vibe of someone being like, well, that doesn't quite make sense. And then you're like, well, it's just a theory. Huh? But no, I hope you have enjoyed. This is the final thing in this video. If you have, then as I said, please do like, subscribe, and do all those lovely things. It's genuinely such an amazing thing to see you guys commenting and interacting with all my videos recently. It's been great. And if you have any ideas for other things I can add in the future, then please just leave them in the comments below, and I will try and get around to them. I obviously do have a regular 9-to-5 job, so I can't always get into them, but I will try my hardest. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all guys next time. Ta-ra.